What's up, everybody at home? It's Glenn and Big Jack back with another Bears preview video here on the Fade podcast. Bears moved to 4-2. They beat the New Orleans Saints in what I would call somewhat dominating fashion. They dominated probably like 45 to 50 minutes of the game. Defense really came to play. Running game goes for over 200 yards. Defense, yet again, comes up with 4 turnovers this week. That's 15 turnovers in the last 4 weeks, something that just doesn't seem sustainable. Honestly, most of the team looked really good. The one disappointing thing from the game, probably for most people, is the quarterback play. Caleb Williams, in my opinion, had his worst game of the year. That being said, keeps from turning into a total disaster, and they find a way to get out of there with a somewhat comfortable victory. Jack, any initial thoughts on that game?
Not a ton. I think, you hit the nail on the head there with the Caleb situation. I do feel like we're seeing growth, we're seeing progress, but it's never going to be linear. You wouldn't expect it to go that way. It is difficult because it's only human nature to compare and contrast to his peers, particularly the ones that were drafted right alongside him. And you see kind of some of the performances. Bo Nick's been a little helter-skelter too this year, probably not as good as last year, but he's still getting it done in some pretty big moments down the stretch of games, putting in some massive fourth quarter shifts. And what Drake May is doing is, I think he's like number 4 as far as odds for MVP voting goes. So it's like, when is he going to get there? When's he going to get there? But I'm still mostly happy with what I'm seeing with him. I think Ben Johnson's offense is complex. And I'd like to hope that, there was this trajectory that Jared Goff was on where his completion percentage versus expected. Caleb's is dead last in the league. It's bad. It's ugly. Whatever. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But Jared Goff was pretty similarly bad his first 6-7 games in Ben Johnson's offense. And then, boom, it took off. And, Jared Goff was another former number 1 overall pick, similar to Caleb. But I think it's probably fair to say Caleb's a little more talented, and hopefully that comes to fruition. The rest of the team, yeah. What we're doing in the turnover battle is remarkable. We kind of keep saying, like, we got to stop somebody because it isn't sustainable, but they're proving us wrong every week. They're getting 4+ a week. It's kind of insane. I don't see any world in which that could possibly continue, but I don't know. Until it doesn't, I'll take it. But yeah, the run game, I think that's an extreme positive out of the bye. It's looked completely different. It's looked so lethal at times. I think more than anything to me, it's just a signal that Ben Johnson is legit, man. I think the Bears got a guy who will be here for a decade, and I absolutely love that piece of what's going on. All that said, we were in the same spot last year, record-wise, 4-2. A lot of season left to go. Certainly feels different for a variety of reasons, some of which we've been talking about. But 4-2 is 4-2, and yeah, you got to keep on building on that. No lit-ups.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I guess the only other thing I'd add to that Jared Goff, Caleb Williams comparison, and it might be like positive in some ways and negative in some other ways, is Jared Goff, it was his second team. He'd been in the league for like 4 years, 5 years. He did go to a Super Bowl with a prior team. So like he probably has an advantage there. On the other end, he was on his second team and they were struggling, and that creates extra added pressure. So like, who really knows? I don't know. There's some give and take there.
Yeah, I think it was more just I guess it's certainly not a direct parallel, but more just like highlighting the only other quarterback that was in a Ben Johnson scheme, because, he had other roles, obviously, throughout his tenure with the NFL, but that's the only offensive coordinator position he had. So it's like just saying that someone who was at the heights that Jared Goff was at before all this happened, and he still had similar issues that we're seeing with Caleb, sure, I think is a little, I don't know, encouraging is probably not a fair word, but
yeah, it helps
maybe
give
reassuring
you some
or comforting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps give you some patience and some hope. So we'll see. Looking ahead to this week, if the Bears are going to have a chance, Caleb's probably going to have to play better. It looks like Lamar is coming back from injury. Looks like Roquan Smith is coming back from injury. Ravens coming off a bye. Team with really high expectations coming into the season. Probably still have high expectations of themselves, but they put themselves in a hole. The whole world will tell you this is a desperate, hungry Ravens team getting a recent former MVP back. I don't know if Roquan's the defensive captain, but he's got to be one of the voices of the defense. I think the whole world's telling you the Ravens are probably the the strong favorites in this game, and Vegas will tell you the same. Me and Jack were talking before. We believe the Bears are sitting at 6-point dogs right now. Healthy underdogs, 4-2 team going up against a 1-5 team. It's kind of interesting. Jack, any initial thoughts on like the line or just looking ahead at this game before we get into any kind of keys or really in-depth analysis?
Now, it is a crazy line. I mean, I can't imagine there's been a game over the course of time in the NFL where, like to your point, a 1-5 team was basically a touchdown favorite against a 4-2 team. But it's a lot of valid points in there about getting Lamar back, coming off a bye, veteran team that's been in the playoffs, I think 7 of the last 8 years, coming into the season with Super Bowl aspirations. They're going to be ready to go. There's no two ways about it. But yeah, it is funky the way the line looks.
Yeah, funky, no doubt. Funky, no doubt. Let's look forward to this game, and let's talk about some of the keys to a potential Bears victory. Huge dogs, 6-point dogs. It seems like the whole world has got their eyes on the Ravens, a -6 right now. But I got my eyes on Bears money line, and I want to know how the Bears are going to find a way to get a win. Jack, I look to you for my keys to a Bears victory. Do you want to hop into the keys, or you got anything else to add before we hop in the keys?
No, amen. Bears money line is what it's all about. Key number 1, even in this winning streak we've been on, I think it's the first time since 2017 the Bears have won 4 games in a row. That might be wrong, but I think that's right. Even during this 4-game stretch, the red zone offense has been bad. You're not going to get away with that against the Ravens. Other key-wise, whatever from a defensive side of things, the Ravens are going to be scoring points. They just are. And you're going to have to keep up with that. You got to get 7s instead of 3s. Bears have not been doing a good job of that. In fact, they've been doing a horrific job of that, not really taking advantage of some of the turnovers that the defense has put in their lap. They got to capitalize this week, 7s instead of 3s. Otherwise, you got no shot on Sunday afternoon.
I think it's a great key. You didn't need it against the Saints, but this is a different animal you're going up against this week. Against the Saints, you're able to get some turnovers, settle for some field goals, create a gap, feel like the Saints can't come back. This is one of those games where no lead is safe, and if you fall behind, you could end up chasing and fall even further behind real quick. So I'm with you. 7s, not 3s. Great first key. Second key to a Bears victory.
Yeah, and just kind of continue building on that. I think it's, it kind of goes back to what you said about your point about maybe Caleb's worst game of the year. I'm hoping coming out of that, maybe it is an opportunity to sort of learn and grow because, I feel like the play designs aren't necessarily bad. Like in the red zone, there's some opportunities and it just feels like we're missing them. So he's got to come out of that and start making some plays down there. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to compete with the upper echelon of this league. Key number 2 is contain Lamar Jackson. He's going to play. I can't see any sort of reporting that would say otherwise at this point. He's coming off a little bit of an injury. I doubt he'll be 100%. And he's proven over the course of time the narrative. I know he's had still has had some tough moments in the biggest games, but the narrative that he's not a passer is just foolish, silly at this point. The guy's an absolute stud. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And I still do think that, you have to try to force him to be a passer to a certain extent because he is so lethal with his legs. If you're stopping plays, and he's just such a backbreaker when he leaks out and rips off, 15, 20 on you out of nothing when you think you got him, held down in the secondary. So I don't know if you use a spy. Maybe you have TJ Edwards kind of hang with them. He looked great last week, by the way. And dude, this is Tremaine Edmonds' best year as a Bear. He looks like a different player this year, in my opinion. So I don't know. Maybe those guys are freaks of nature athletically. Maybe you spy him or something. But I think you got to find a way to contain Lamar and do your best. They're going to move the ball, but limit those 3rd and 7s. You got a chance to get a stop, and next thing you know, Lamar leaks out the back door for 20 yards, and they keep on rolling. Just do your best to contain number 8. Try to keep him in that pocket as best as possible.
Love it. He's dynamic with them legs, man. He's a different cat when it comes to scrambling and picking up some yardage that way. Containing him, keeping him under wraps, at least with his feet, has got to be a big key. I agree with you. All right, key number 3.
Key number 3. It's something it's a unique one I've done in the past. It's more so just calling out a player more than a key. Colson Loveland got a no pun intended here, got a lot of love for what he did in the running game this past week, and I think rightfully so. I think he's done pretty well in that department, generally speaking. But it seems like there's a real good shot, if not probable, that Cole Kmet is not going to be playing on Sunday. I think it kind of opens the door for Loveland to get even that much more involved. And I think you got to feed him the rock, man. He's got to be a difference maker. You can't draft a guy at number 10 overall and not have him be one of those type of guys. So I look for Colston Loveland to have a breakout game, and maybe be the game-winning touchdown, some big play that keeps him in it. I think Colston Loveland's got to be a huge factor this week if you come away 5-2.
He's got a great matchup. He'll be going up against Roquan Smith, who's not very good in pass coverage. So I like that third key, and I like the possibility of it happening. Love it. Love it. All right. To recap for everybody, Jack's 3 keys are red zone offense, find a way to get 7s and not 3s. Contain Lamar Jackson, especially when it comes to him using his legs. And Colston Loveland, have yourself a breakout game. Show some life that to the people out there that you're in fact on this team and you're doing something positive. So I love those keys. Any thoughts on how this game's going to play out? Obviously, they're big dogs. Are you thinking that they're going to get rolled this week? Do you think they got a fighting chance? Obviously, you got your keys for a reason. If they are able to do those things, they'll be able to hang in there, maybe get themselves a win. But you think they'll be able to perform?
Kind of a cop out, I guess. But I think this game goes one of two ways. I think that either it's a slaughterhouse. I could see the Ravens winning by 2 scores plus, or conversely, I could see the Bears winning outright. I think if it's within a touchdown, I think the Bears win the game. So I really do think there is a path to victory here. I don't think the Ravens are suddenly going to all drink MJ's secret stuff on Sunday morning and look like the Super Bowl team that they have in years past. They got plenty of glaring issues. Those aren't going to change. So I think there certainly is opportunity, but I'm not going to discount that team quite yet, even at 1-5. So, I lean towards it. Probably, I would say 60% of me says this one could get ugly on the other side. And there's a 40% of me that I think is like a legit 40%, not like I'm a Bears fan 40%. There is a good piece of me that feels like the Bears could win this game outright. How about you?
I think the offense is going to be able to score points. The Bears offense, that being said. The defense has looked good in recent weeks. I just hope they look good this weekend. If the defense plays well, I think they got a shot. Tell you what, if this game was in Chicago, I would feel really kind of sneaky good about this. The fact that it's in Baltimore makes me feel a little bit less good. I don't know if I'd pick the Bears money line, but I think I picked the Bears to cover. They're playing pretty good ball, other than their quarterback didn't play good last week. And the Ravens, I know they have it in them to play good, but they haven't shown it this year, and we're almost halfway through the season. And that's just where I struggle to believe in the Ravens. I don't know if it's totally believing in the Bears yet. I think it's more I just don't really know if I believe in the Ravens, if that makes sense. All right. Any final thoughts for the fans out there?
No, I think you wrapped it up well. And like I said, I mean, you win this game, man. 5-2 is, you're going to be looking pretty clean as far as your chances at making a run at those NFC playoffs. So find a way to get it done, man. Just keep it rolling.
5-2 would have some people really excited in Chicagoland. I'll tell you that right now. All right. Thanks for tuning in at home. Like and subscribe if you're new. Check out our best bets video if you don't check that out. Jack, hit it for him one time.